Good morning, traders. Welcome to Trading Together. I'm Mel Gacee. Today is Tuesday, May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody. Go get your tacos and margaritas tonight. Well, we are opening up today in an uptrending market. You can see, let me get over to my chart where I can point better. You can see we have been in a slow grind all night long, really pushing up here. We are just a little bit, just inches away from the new all-time high, which is sitting at 7,300 on the ES, which, as you know, is the futures, sitting at 72.72 on the SPX, which is the index. All right, David Neely, knock, knock. Good morning. Welcome. And if you're here this morning, please drop your name in the chat. This is a friendly, interactive place. We're going to analyze the market. I'm going to take some trades for educational purposes. I'm going to trade live in front of you. And we're going to just have some fun and get to know each other. So looks like Val Senberg is also here. Gavilan, good morning. Dan Eichhorst, good morning, Dan. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks for saying hi. You know how much I appreciate that. All right. Good morning, Nick. Good to see you. All right. So we are again in this grind up. As you zoom out, you can see it's really been grinding up since, oh gosh, about midnight, really. So we hit that low and then just slow grind all night long. And now we are not far, like I said, from our all-time high. So I am actually currently stuck in a put that I'm watching here. If we kind of jump up here and beat this high and continue on up, I'm going to get out. But as of right now, I'm going to give it a little room. And if we get some signals that we're coming down, I might average it. So we'll see what we do here. Right now, it's up, up, and away. And again, there is the target overhead. That is the all-time high. So let's take a look at the daily chart. I'll show you what I mean. On the daily chart, get over to my SPX. All right. So the SPX is the actual index. And take a look at today's candle. This is the daily chart. So each one of these candles represents one day. David's still in it. So, all right. Jeff, what the put? What does that mean, Jeff? And good morning. What do you mean, what the put? I am still in the put. I'm waiting to see what we get here. But let's go on with our daily. So we've got, again, this high sitting right here that we made on Friday. You can see it. We made this high and then immediately dropped down to the bottom of the range on Friday. That was a bit negative, right? And then we had yesterday's behavior, which was also negative. We dropped down. We did close off of the lows, but still created a red candle. Today, we gapped up. I want to say it was about 30 points gap up, 25, 30 points gap up. And we've just been traveling upward ever since. Now, this overhead high right here at 72.72 is just about 14 points away. So with it being that close, it's acting as a magnet. We could very well run up and hit that. That could be what happens today. Now, once we hit that, we're in blue skies. We don't know where the top is. Once we hit this all-time high, we can continue up. We don't know where they're going to stop. So that's the question mark when we get to all-time highs. Where is the top? We just don't know. So that is the challenging part. So if we do run up there today and tag that, we don't know that we're going to stop there. We could keep on going. We just don't know. in this case, it could be the next round number, which would be 7,300. That could happen. So at this point, we just have to wait and see, and that's where we're at. All right. Don't know. Good morning, Tatiana. I'm not sure what you're saying there, but welcome and good morning. Oh, okay. That's good morning. That's good morning in another language. All right. David, good morning. And Nick saying, was it a test of the VWAP? Yes, it was, Nick. How well you know me. It was this test over here. First test of the morning at the VWAP. That rollover on the MACD and the test of the VWAP is where I jumped into the put, and I am still stuck in it. So I would like to get out on the next downturn, but we'll see what we get. So let's get back to our minute chart. Look at our ES. All right. Slow grind is really what we're doing right now. And again, I'm not super interested in calls. We could take a call on the gamble that they're trying to hit the all-time high. We could. There's no guarantees that they're trying to hit the all-time high. So I'd want to be careful here because we are at some highs. We are getting these little rejections here. We're making these itty bitty higher highs, but they're not very big. These little higher highs they're almost looking like a triple top. They really are higher highs, but they're so tiny. They're almost looking like a triple top. So we'll see. Right now, I just have to wait and see what we get. All right, Maria, good morning. Welcome. Okie dokes. So let's go back to our leaderboard here. Bitcoin's still holding nicely at 81.8K. That's great for Bitcoin. Russell up 1.5%. So Russell's kind of leading this push up. Amazon is up 1.4. Apple is up 1.3. The NASDAQ is up 1.2. Google up 1.2. The SPY is kind of dragging behind a little bit at 0.7% elevated. The Dow at 0.6. The Magnificent Seven as a whole is sitting just over its flat line at 0.2. Tesla also at its flat line. Then we've got NVIDIA down about 0.7, Microsoft down 0.7, Meta down 1.2, and Palantir really dropping after earnings. So Palantir had very good earnings, but has gapped down today pretty significantly and is now down almost 6%. So that's a negative look. And this is the same kind of thing we saw with Meta and Microsoft and their earnings. They had good earnings, but the stock dropped. And, analysts are saying it's because investors are getting more leery of this very, very heavy capital expenditure program that these big stocks are on for this AI race. So Palantir kind of saying maybe all is not well under the hood. So we will see what happens there. All right, David, look how fast the RSI goes from 70 to 58. Yeah, crazy, right? In just 2 or 3 minutes. That is how it works. And the RSI does move quickly like that. And expectations were too high on Palantir. Expectations are high on everything, but you are right. That is one of the golden children in the earnings world. Okay. Let's talk about the data we had today. So we had the JOLTS job opening report, and that gave us a little bit fewer job openings than were expected. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't a terrible number. We had 6.8 million jobs open in March compared to 6.92 million the previous month. So job openings are down, but it's not horrible. New home sales were up, so that was a positive. So new home sales were at 583K last month, and they're now sitting at 682K this month. So that is a boost. That's a positive. So that was the data we had. The market didn't really care. We saw data, I'll show you where, at the 10 o'clock Eastern hour, right here, right in here. We didn't really see any significant, big moves. We did move up and then came down. We got a little herky-jerky over here and then kind of settled down, and we've just been doing this slow climb ever since. All right. David, they said they were going to double their revenue next year. Crazy earnings. Couldn't get better for Palantir. Right. That's exactly the point, David. Great earnings that we've been seeing on all of these companies. And yet we're starting to see some of the cracks show where investors aren't quite so hyped up as they were. So something to be aware of. And Sestaton, I think that's Tony, right? Good morning. UNH took a little drop. It did. It did. We're down. UNH is down about 2%. You are correct. And Howard Hess, good morning. I'm still in the call, or still in the put, but added a call. Okay. Well, that call ought to be looking really nice for you there, Howard. Good job. All right. 723.6 is our current high of the day on the SPY, and we are almost there. It looks like it wants to tag it and make a new high. We do have volume at 724 and 725 on the call side. We do have some volume at 722 on the put side, 721 and 720. So right now, the calls are winning. VIX is sitting at 17.4. Kind of sideways, really. So while the market looks like it's making kind of this slow climb, if I'll zoom out, you can see this slow climb in the market. VIX doesn't exactly look like it's making a slow drop, does it? Here's the VIX down here. It doesn't look like a slow drop. It looks like a head and shoulders. Now, VIX doesn't really lend itself to technical analysis quite as well as some other charts, but you can still get some good technical analysis on the VIX. To me, it's looking a bit like a head and shoulders and mostly sideways. So that's telling. When you've got the market doing this slow grind and the VIX kind of just doing sideways, that's something to be aware of. All right, 72.59 on the SPX. So again, just about 13 points away from a brand new all-time high. It feels like a magnet to me. All right, David, same here, Howard. Okay. All right, well, I'm glad you guys have that call to back you up. So we've climbed about 18 to 36, about 18 points we've climbed since the open. And like I said, talking about earnings, Palantir had their earnings. We're going to get AMD and SMCI tonight after the bell. So those are also some big companies that we want to pay attention to. Looks to me like AMD is running up today, but we'll see what we get after earnings. AMD is up 3% right now. I'm going to add SMCI to my watch list just because it's before earnings. And SMCI is down just a little bit today, 0.2%, so not much. All right, so we slowed down a little bit here. We haven't quite hit a new high of day. It could do that any second now if it wanted to. Let's see what we get. VIX really kind of holding steady in this 17.4 zone. Andrew, I am still in the put. And good morning. All right, getting a little MACD rollover right here. We're real close to a new high of day. Yeah, thanks, Tony. I did notice that the spread went negative. Thank you for letting me know, though. I appreciate it. The leg that I sold, the put leg that I sold was the 355, and UNH is sitting at 364. So the spread's not in danger right now, but you are correct. It did make it go a little bit red today. So thank you for that. All right, looks like another little climb here. Let's see if we can beat this top or they're going to hold it. Our volume is growing at the 722 put strike, but highest volume still sitting at 723 call strike. All right, little move down here without a new high. All right, sorry, I thought there was a new comment. Okay, let's see what we get here. We're moving down below the 21. Hopefully we can get back down to the VWAP. But we have bounced from it. So one there caught me, once here, even though we broke it, and once here. So 3 times up and bounced. All right, no drop yet. Still getting these just small moves downward, but really, they just haven't let it drop. So right now, they're really holding it in this area. All right. David doesn't want to break below 350. Are you talking about UNH, David? Oh, AMD. Okay. Yeah, we'll see what happens with AMD. I kind of have a feeling it might go the way of the other earnings, but we'll see. AMD and SMCI. Yeah, thanks, David. All right, still pulling really sideways on the VIX. It's not really giving us much. It's just not giving us much downward movement at all. All right. Trying to come down below the 21. All right. David thinks AMD is a good company to sell puts on and collect premium. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, David. All right, little move down here on a little bit of elevated volume. And the VIX looks like it's giving a tiny climb here. All right, so no trade just yet. There's no real movement here off of this top, just a little small move here. We did get a little volume pickup there, but we haven't gone anywhere. All right, Jeff saying Seagate riding the wave, STX. Okay, we can take a look at that. Nick saying if sharp drop, long wick, more puts. Potentially, Nick. I am halfway expecting a drop today, but they're not moving away from this magnet. And again, I think the magnet is the overhead all-time high. So that's what we haven't moved away from yet. But I am halfway expecting a drop today. However, we have to be careful of not having a bias, right? We have to trade what we've got. And I'll take a look here at STX. Jeff, let's see what that looks like. Yep, looks like Seagate's up 5%. Very nice. Had a nice push here and kind of pulled back, and now is kind of just gliding along the VWAP today, but that's a nice push there at 5%. And look at that chart. Very strong chart there. Absolutely. Very strong chart. They had a nice gap up after earnings. They had their earnings on 4/28. Had a nice gap, and they've really been just continuing on up. Yeah, nice chart, Jeff. All right. Just kind of below, we're below the 21, but we haven't dropped very far yet. It's still kind of in this topping pattern. Again, they're not letting it drop yet. Although the VIX has given us a little climb here, just a little one. All right, DT rolled overnight puts 717 to 723 for tomorrow. All right, good luck, DT. Triple. Okay, they aren't too expensive. Okay, good luck on that. All right, here comes another push. So like I said, they're not really dropping it. They're just kind of holding it up here at these highs. Let's take a look at the 724 volume. 724 and 725 volume is growing on the call side. So 724 is where we'll hit the all-time high. Let's look at it exactly. It's going to be 724.8. So that's our all-time high on the SPY. So that is not too far away, like 15 points, $1.50 on the SPY. All right, Dan, Bitcoin looking at new high of the day. Yeah, Dan, I've been watching Bitcoin all morning, sitting at 82. Like I said on the first stream, this is a kind of a milestone for Bitcoin because it has not been able to break 80 in a long time. So this is going to go a long way to help Bitcoin get up there back where it was. So yeah, thanks, Dan. And David makes my rollover stupid if the volume is higher. Oh, no, for today, David. I'm not talking about tomorrow's volume. right. No new high yet. Just floating up here. Really coming close though, right? See these upper wicks? Really coming close. No cigar. All right, DT, even if it's for today, should have waited for it to go higher to grab tomorrow's. Well, do you know what? Just because there's volume there doesn't mean that they hit that. Those those calls will make money even if they don't hit that level. All right. VIX coming up a little bit. We're kind of back down where we were. Let's see if we can keep moving down. There's a move. All right, finally. That looks better. All right, looks like we could be starting a move down here. MACD's getting a little brighter. All right, so far they're holding it right here. Just kind of watching here. And if it comes back down, I might go ahead and consider puts here. I need to see how it responds. It looks like it's trying to hold right here, but let's see if it can get under that. If it can, well, there's a little push. This is where I don't know if it's a pullback long or a reversal. That's what we don't know, Dan. I'm with you. That's what I'm waiting to see because we're kind of right in the middle of this current range, right? This little range right here. We're sort of in the middle of that. So I'm with you, Dan. I don't know what it is either. I'm still watching. Right now, the MACD says we're negative. So No call from me at this point. And there's no call for me anyway. The top is just a little too toppy. Let's see if they bring it back down. We got a VIX high at 17.6, and we're off of that. We're at 17.5, but it's been kind of traveling upward here. So we're just waiting. I'm watching to see if we can get back down to the VWAP. We are still under the 21, barely here. There's a nice little drop there. I like that. And while we're waiting for this to decide which way it's going, let's take a quick look at data tomorrow. We do have data coming up, important data on Friday. But tomorrow we'll get ADP, non-farm employment. That's a big one. That can definitely move the market. That shows up at 8:15 Eastern tomorrow morning before the open. That's really all we've got tomorrow for important data. Thursday we'll get initial job list. That's our weekly number. And that's about it. And then Friday is where we've got big data coming. So average hourly earnings, that's important. Non-farm payrolls, the government number. Unemployment rates. Is there anything else? Nope. So that's going to be probably a very big day, I would think, that most of those numbers have the power to move the market. So, and they're all labor related. So that that can absolutely move the market. So we'll be watching for that. But on this move, it's just sitting here, not doing much. It's kind of right in this in-between zone, right? So we've got the kind of this little temporary top up here. We've got the VWAP down here and moving up slightly. And then we've got this price just sitting right here in the middle. So we've got to wait to find out which way we're going. We don't know. But the VIX seems to be moving up. So it's possible that we could be heading into a downward move. So We'll have to be patient. All right, Dan, ES and NQ going in opposite directions. Who's lying? Good question. We'll have to look at those charts. So the ES is not really going in any direction. It's kind of going sideways. Let's see what the NQ looks like. NQ kind of looking like it wants to go up. It did just make a new high of day where we have not. So the ES is sitting here with a high of day back here at 10:25 Eastern. NQ just made a new high of day. Looking a little bit more like it's still involved in this climb, even though you could certainly consider this close to a double top here because we got this spike up here on this candle. So the high on this move is basically right here, right at the high on this move. So it could be a double top. We'll see. If it continues on up, obviously it's not. All right, let's get back to the SPY. Nope, that's not the SPY. All right, another little move down here. John Stewart, good morning. Just getting on. Read the put. Are you averaging yet? What percent are you down right now if you're still in it? Great question, John. I have not averaged it yet. I am still in it. I'm down about 56% right now. So as it comes down here, I may decide to go ahead and cut my losses. But I'd like to see if we can get down here and test the VWAP first. So that's kind of my thought, John. And the VIX is just kind of still giving a little bit of a slow climb here. Although there's a little red candle. You're welcome. Great question. AMD really still moving up 3.7. And remember, AMD and SMCI have earnings tonight after the bell. So AMD is getting a pump pre-earnings pump. All right, there's a drop on the VIX right there. Pretty large red candles. So looks like we might be getting a little spike here. Let's see what we get. All right, if SMCI is not moving going into earnings, should I sell my calls? Just curious. Do you have calls on SMCI, Val? And if so, where are they at? Are you in profit? Where are you at? All right, no new high on the SPY yet, but like I said, the Qs did make a new high. So let's see if we get a little push here. Val's at a 10% loss. Okay, when do they expire, Val? May 22nd. Okay. Let's look at SMCI chart. My thing is, I don't like trading earnings because there's no way to know what is going to happen. Even if a stock beats, they can dump. And even if they, you know, post terrible earnings, they can climb. There's also a lot of volatility involved. And so that also does affect the premiums. But let's take a look at the daily chart on SMCI. Right now, the minute chart, you can see it's just doing nothing but sideways, just kind of flat. It's not really down. It's down about 0.3%. That's not much. It's really just flat, kind of hugging the VWAP for now. But let's look at the daily here. This is not a great chart. So overall, SMCI is moving down, although recently it's got a nice push off this bottom. It got all the way down to 19.4. So that's pretty low when it was up at 62. So it got all the way down to 19. And from there, it's really kind of done a climb. Then it's going to have earnings tonight, and that, let's look at the last couple of times it had earnings. So let me zoom in a little bit more. So last earnings was in February. It got a nice gap up, and then it sort of fell back down to where it was. I'm not sure what caused this gap. That looks like some sort of a company news thing. But last earnings, it did jump and then fell back down. Earnings before, it got a big gap down and just sank. And same with the earnings before that. Big gap down and a drop. So it doesn't seem to perform super well at earnings, at least recently. But, that can change. It is in a recent smaller uptrend. It is over the 21, so that's kind of positive. So it's kind of up to your risk tolerance, Val. Basically, it's probably either going to fly high or it's going to drop hard. It's probably not just going to do a little nothing, right? It's probably going to fly high or drop hard. And that's just how earnings are, especially on these kinds of companies. So it's going to depend on your risk tolerance. If you want to hang on until tonight and see if you get that nice big bounce, but just be aware that it could fall just as hard against you. So I would say that's gonna boil down to your risk tolerance. All right. You're welcome, Val. All right, David Neely, I need both of those. What do you need, David? Big moves up and down. Are you in puts and calls right now? Gotcha. Okay. That's a hard place to be. We are sort of getting a sideways move here, as you can see. We hit this top back here, and it's just kind of been going sideways. So I absolutely understand where you're at. I'll take a quick look at the gamma again and see if there's anything new. All right, still sitting in very positive gamma with the call wall at 722. So the call wall is just a little below us. We do have some gamma sitting at 725 as well, but the call wall sitting at 722. Put wall 717. So gamma is still pretty squarely positive right now. And not much to do here. This is just sideways chop, so we can't really trade either way as of right now. At least I can't. Two sideways. All right. Getting a little move down on the VIX corresponding to this little move up here. We're still sitting in this 17.5 zone. We really haven't left it. Just kind of been up and down in this general area. All right, again, no new highs, so just kind of holding this here, but they're not dropping it either. So that's what defines the range, right? They're kind of holding it in a certain level and they're not letting it go and they're not pushing it either. So this is where we have to be patient and wait for this range to finish. It will move one way or the other. It almost always does. But while we're in range, we just have to be patient, and it's the hard part. It's really the hard part of trading. I'm going to take a quick look at some VIX volume on the option chart, option chain. So VIX expires tomorrow in the morning. VIX AM expires, so it's a little different, it's a little weird. We've got some decent open interest sitting here. Still some decent interest sitting here at the 20 strike. And more open interest on the call side than on the put side. So here's our open interest. Remember, open interest is a snapshot of everybody who was holding this position as of last night. It does not reflect if they've gotten out of that position or closed it. It just shows how many were holding it as of last night. It's a static number, does not change during the day. Volume, on the other hand, is a picture that's dynamic. It's changing constantly, and it's how many people today are placing orders at these exact strike levels. And we've got some volume on the call side here. Let's see. Looks a little heavier on the call side for the current day's volume. And definitely heavier on the open interest. All right. Howard. Howard Hess. Hi, Howard. Best guess on the put. Should I put a limit order and hope for the best? That is going to depend on your risk tolerance, Howard. If this drops back down to the VWAP, I'll probably get out at a loss. But I'm looking for a little bit of a smaller loss than where I'm at right now. Um, if you, if your position is not too big and it's not going to hurt you to hold it, then you can hold and see what happens. But if it's too big and it's hurting you, then it's best to take your stop. So that's what I would say on that. All right, we are getting a little move down here. So we have this current swing low right here. Let's see if we can come down below that. Basically, it's still sideways, but right here where we're sitting is this recent swing low. So if we can beat that, we could probably come down and test the VWAP. Let's see what happens. If they hold it here and bounce up again, it's just more range. All right, 10 options, sell, limit, 3 at a time, and be happy with what I get. All right, Howard, that's not a bad idea. And I would say this, Howard, I don't know what size account you're trading in, but when you place trades, you want to keep your position size to about 1 to 2% of your account size. You don't want to be in to big positions, especially when we're zero DTE trading, because there's a lot of risk involved. So keep your positions to about 1 to 2% of your account size. And that way, when we have a trade go bad, it's not going to hurt your account. Okay. That's kind of my thoughts on that. All right, guys. Well, we are coming up to the end of the stream. We did not get to take a trade today, but we are waiting for this range to break. As far as this put, I'm looking for a test of the VWAP to get out, and I'll probably get out at a loss at that point, unless we break down. If it breaks down through the VWAP, I'll ride it and see how far we can get. I have not averaged this trade yet because I just don't have a good reason to. I'm not going to throw more money at it as we kind of sit here across these highs. Now, if it starts dropping and giving me a good reason to believe it's coming down, then I may average it as well. But right now, I'm not going to do that. It's just not showing me weakness yet. Once we start seeing weakness, I would average if it's true weakness. If we're coming down, we're beating the VWAP, we're getting some weakness, then yes, I would average. But until then, I'm not going to. I am going to give it a little bit more time because we're really not breaking the top either. So that's why I'm just kind of waiting on this. And you all know I do not like to be holding these trades. So for me, the sooner I can get out of this, the better. All right. Howard thinks it's going to drop at 355. It's famous for doing that, right? That is exactly what it does. All right, guys. So as far as the rest of the day goes, again, I'm waiting for this range to break. If it breaks to the upside, I still don't think I'm going to take calls. That we're just kind of too close to this toppy feeling. I wouldn't take puts yet until we get a nice test and break of the VWAP. So for me right now, no real trade until this range breaks. All right, guys. It was a pleasure having you here today. I loved just talking through this with you. And even though we didn't take a trade, We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, and I'm sure that it'll be hopefully better and not stuck in this range. All right, Maria saying thanks. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you being here. I'll be back again tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you so much. Bye for now.